them in the movie, in the movement. So if you have any questions, think about those now. My name is David Harder. I've been involved in the psychedelic movement, I guess you could say, for about 5 years. And a huge debt of gratitude to the mushroom for my life, for my marriage, and for things that have changed so much in my world because of this beautiful medicine. And I've been really just listening to the audience during the movie. I think this is quite an informed crowd. And one of the things she said towards the end is that in the mushroom she saw pure love. And I wanted to just get some interaction right away. How many of you have had an experience like that with one of these medicines where you just saw pure love? Yeah, we could have a panel up here of probably just 80 people telling the stories. So we just happen to be here and representing what's happening, but I know there's so many stories that are powerful in this group of changes that have been made. So, Tarzy, who are you? Tell us.
Hi everybody, I'm Tarzy McCain. Before I say a little bit about myself, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that has come out here tonight and made the time, because I'm guessing you're curious about these kinds of things, and or maybe you have a person in your life that you're trying to support and you're just wondering about looking for other options. So I just want to recognize all of you for coming out and making time for that. So I've been working in mental health, addictions, counseling for over 20 years, and my path also started with kind of the psychedelic scene over 20 years ago when I was involved in the festival scene, harm reduction, that type of thing. And around that same time I started studying psychology, and so all of those things kind of happened all around the same time. I can speak a little bit about that. And then 3 years ago, I actually went to clinical psychedelic psychotherapist training, actually with 3 of the people that were in the film, including Gareth and Trevor, too. So I was the only person from Alberta. And I'm also on the organizing crew for the Catalyst Calgary Psychedelic Research Conference at the end of May of this year. So that's a bit about me.
My name is Ryan Snow. I work as a personal coach here with the Center of Wholeness and Wellbeing. I'm here because this is my lived story. I was a pretty hardcore drug addict, kind of lost everything, and then stumbled onto Iboga, and it really changed my life. And just as an advocate, that people really can change and turn their lives around and become like the beautiful people that we're all supposed to be. So that's me.
For format right now, I know it's difficult to hear the questions, so I'm going to assign Tarzy to repeat the questions after you say them, so that everybody hears what the question is. But if there's somebody with a burning question right away, just put your hand up, and we'll try right here in front. Go ahead.
Is about microdosing and breastfeeding. Is it safe to do so while breastfeeding? Does anybody here have I'm not sure. My feeling is I don't know if we can actually accurately answer that. There is I know that there's, I can't think of it right now, but if you ask me afterwards, I know that there's a website that is specifically devoted to things that come through when moms are breastfeeding, because we really want to be conscientious of that, right, too. So I don't, unless you guys feel like you have any scientific precedent. So if you want to approach afterwards, I'll try to remember what that website is. But the thing is too, is that there hasn't been research done about that too. So we always kind of, while we're curious about what these things can do, we also, when it comes down to, the effects on kids, we want to be really safe, so.
Is there a Iboga treatment available in Calgary area or Alberta?
Is there Iboga treatment available in Calgary or area? I will pass that along to my colleague, Ryan Snow.
There actually is not at this time. Mark runs his out of Vancouver. 4 years ago, I think it became scheduled substance. That kind of shut down everybody's facilitation here in Canada. There's work going towards decriminalization and get done in the Bitwy tradition, which is what you saw how Mark does it, so that it's available here in Canada. The facilities I work with are in Costa Rica, Those are the most reputable ones that are done right now. So as far as that goes.
Yeah, he just said you can order it online, but please don't do that. And I would caution that iboga is not one to play with, not one just to, oh, somebody has iboga, let's go see what it's like. It's a really, really serious drug, and you need to have medical attention when you're doing iboga. Like this, with the treatment that you saw there was under a very professional environment, safety, and not just something you do in somebody's basement or backyard. Next question?
Is this similar to ayahuasca?
Question was, is iboga similar to ayahuasca?
Iboga and ayahuasca are two really different experiences. The iboga experience is really personal. It's like it drags up all of the trauma and stuff that you've experienced, like in a real way that's really to you. It's like the medicine is really smart in a way that it is like you can ask it direct questions and it will give you a direct answer. It's like the general experience that happens. Ayahuasca is more of an cosmic, like sometimes love, sometimes really shadow, but like how you're a part of the whole of everything. There's the legend is that ayahuasca is on the part of Brazil and iboga is in Gabon part. So back in Pangea, it was the mother and the father energy of the earth. So father energy is iboga, really direct and like kicks your butt, and ayahuasca is like a loving thing that can be really soulful, I guess. So yeah. Ayahuasca is also in the DMT category, which is, I don't know if you guys do study that.
Right in the back.
My question is about microdosing and migraines. So I suffer from chronic daily migraines, and I wonder about microdosing because I do have extreme addiction in my family, and I want to avoid the phenomenal amount of opiates that they will readily prescribe to me, and the phenomenal amount of narcotics that they will readily prescribe to me. So I have actively avoided those for years, and that limits my ability to treat my migraines, and it limits my ability to not be debilitated by it. And I understand that there has been research and there's been a lot of, it's not necessarily, I guess, cooking and such done with psilocybin to deal with migraines. And
Okay, so I'm just gonna, if I can, question about the potential of using microdosing, psilocybin or otherwise to help with migraines. And I think one of the things I just want to preface with, is sometimes we get sort of personal questions or, should I do this or can I do this? We're not medical professionals, apt to be able to just give you a really, really easy answer. But I think, we can try, but I think we just really want to be cautious around,
I'm not saying what I do, but I'm
Yeah.
saying, is there,
what's being done and whatnot.
being done, or
Yeah.
is it direct me to somewhere
Right.
that I
So one really great resource is MAPS, the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies. They have a whole section on there about research. Another one is the Beckley Foundation, and another one is the Hefter Institute. Those are kind of the three principal groups internationally that are leading research, and they will have all of the results and pending studies on their websites.
Yeah, I would say the studies being done so far underground with microdosing for cluster headaches and migraines have shown that it's varying results. Some people have great results with them, and others are like, didn't do anything for me. Often the ones that had good results was more than a microdose, but less than a full dose. But again, those are not accredited studies. They're like medically approved and above board. They're underground studies, so it's coming. More research is needed. A big question for a lot of people because we're hoping it will help.
Do you know if mushrooms have any impact or are bad mixed with things like antidepressants or psychedelic drugs or
Question is, do mushrooms interact badly with antidepressants, and do they affect brain development?
One of the things that we are really aware of is that people sometimes are curious about using these things to get off of those substances. So it is a concern if somebody is looking at using whatever additional, whether it's psychedelic or something else, things like SSRIs, antipsychotics, other things, pretty much any other medication. I mean, the whole idea is that, these things can potentially help you kind of wean off or, act as an interrupter. For some things like psilocybin, there's not a lot of physiological sort of dangers, but the one thing that what might happen is that you might not feel anything, or you'd feel very, very little, just because it kind of gets in the way. If you're looking at something like MDMA, there are some physiological complications, some actual risks. So that's why we want to make sure that people, it's a hard sort of, case, because sometimes people want to get off these things, but it's a bit of an ask to reduce or to go off those kinds of medications. So, you have to just be really careful, right? And sometimes it's the right time and the right place. But as you saw in the film, sometimes people end up doing, kind of larger experiences to be able to sort of get off. That's the whole idea of this therapy, is that, we don't just kind of keep you on all of these additional medications, that the hope is that you would be able to get off of some of these other things that are acting, that you have to take kind of every day. So I don't know, does that answer your question?
I would add too, with ayahuasca, make sure you are not on SSRIs with ayahuasca, and iboga, the same thing. And people that are holding circles will ask. There'll be forms you have to apply. If they're not asking those questions, then you shouldn't be sitting with them, because those can really go badly in the trip with ayahuasca. Question right here.
Is there a most effective dosage amount of the treatment or and also how long
So the question is there an optimum dose for microdosing? And second part was, how long should it be before you see results? Optimum dosing, because again, this is all underground anecdotal evidence that's coming out. We can't say conclusively, but there's all kinds of reports from 100 to 150 to 200 micrograms. Tends to be the range at which we're seeing a lot of people working with microdosing. And a lot of people find the results come immediately, and others find it takes 2 or 3 weeks before they see the results. So it's really a varying response to what it does. Yeah, and if you read about microdosing, you're not doing it every day, or you're doing it every day for 5 days and off for 2. There's all these different protocols that people follow. And even James Fadiman's protocol, which is 1 every 3rd day, I just heard him talk about that. He said, it never was meant to be a protocol. I just did that for my first study, and it became a thing, and my name got attached to it. So nobody really knows what the protocol should be. For some people, it might be. We don't know. That's the thing. Just right behind you.
Yes, I am a cluster headache sufferer for 35 years, and I started dosing 6 years ago, and I just dose every 3 months, and I don't need necessarily to do a high dose. I can do a recreational dose, or I can do a small dose in a tea. And I was headache free for 5 years, and I suffered every year for the 35 years, except for when I was pregnant and the years that I was recreational and experimenting with mushrooms, which I realized much later. In the last year, I did, they came back, but I didn't dose for a year and a half because I was dealing with my mom and her illness. So I just wanted to say that there was a lot of studies, underground studies, and there's a lot of websites, if anyone's with cluster sufferers, cluster busters. MAPS actually just contacted us, our group, and asked to be a part of us. So that's just a recent thing too. So I know that we're hoping to join up with MAPS so that we can share what's going on with us as well.
There's potential for these things for cluster headaches, and consult MAPS if you want to know more. Thank you for that sharing. How about over there in the, yes.
I think well, 2 quick questions. One was about scheduling, but I think you talked about it, like 5 and 2 or 1 and I'm just getting into it. And I'm wondering, like, how to schedule your microdoses and how to really try and figure that out.
So frequency and, yeah, just
I'd
the
say
schedule.
100 micrograms. I can calculate that.
It so depends on what you're doing it for. It really depends on the intention. What are you trying to fight? Anxiety, depression? So it really depends on that and your body type and how you respond to it. And I would say experiment. I wouldn't say experiment because I'm not giving you any advice from the stage. I would say somebody that I read off a website would say find what is best for you. And people that are doing it for work-related things, that's where the Monday to Friday thing comes in. People that are doing it more for stress or anxiety or depression often find every other day works well. And people that are just doing it for cognitive enhancement or just like getting into flow state, I've heard people do that like when they feel it and they need it. So there's no one right answer for that at this point, and more study is needed. So it's a question raised right here.
If you're microdosing, however, is there a risk of psychosis or ambivalence for a person?
I would say my favorite advisor would say no.
So the question is there a risk of psychosis? Well, in epigenetics, everybody has epigenetics in terms of like what your kind of background is type of thing. I think one of the questions that we're getting to, guys, it's like we can't give you a specific definitive answer, and I think what you're kind of getting at is there a risk for other mental health kinds of things or emergences type, right? And that's why none of us are sort of saying this is a light thing to do. And I think anything that you're considering, if you can have as much consultation with people, like maybe your doctor, you can't go and have a conversation like, is microdosing right for me, right? But you can at least, consult, friends, other people that have tried it. If you have pre-existing mental health things or in your family, one of the things that's really, really great is to just be as informed as possible and make sure that if you do something, you take a break afterwards, and that's the whole integration. Like, what am I getting from this? Why am I doing this? How do I feel after? Do I feel super sketchy and that I can't deal with the world, for 2 weeks afterwards, right? So being really, really thoughtful about what impact it's having on you. And I think too, one of the reasons why it's a bit of a weird world out there now, because we have these films, we have this discussions, but there's so many articles and all this kind of thing all the time, but yet, there's nowhere to go, there's no, psychedelic access center in Calgary or whatever, right? So, if you can find somebody to talk to, there's many discussion groups, there's, different sort of peer groups here in Calgary even, just because we want people, like, we know that y'all are gonna go and do this, and there's sort of a side of harm reduction even of this. We want people to be, just kind of go slow and be cautious, and not have your, first microdosing trip end up at, I don't know, at Peter Lougheed or something like that, right? Like that's, might not be the best time. So anyway, I hope that's helpful.
So we're almost out of time. We're going to be able to take like 2 questions. So I'm squinting my eyes right here. This one's been up for a while. Question about whether there's any long-term results from staying off hard drugs by use of this method. Officially, again, no, because it's been illegal to do this. Unofficially, there's been some long-term stories. How many of you are familiar with arrowwid.org, shroomery.org? There's a number of that. thirdwave.co for microdosing. There's a lot of websites that talk about stories, and some of them from quite long ago. There were therapists that were doing a lot of LSD research in the 60s and 70s, but a lot of that stuff has been buried. So I wish I could give you a definitive answer, but it's really vague, but a lot of it is there. It's just anecdotal. It's not official. Yeah. Last I heard 2 months ago, David was talking to Mark, and she's still doing the same job and very productive.
Good.
4 years ago, I was a needle junkie down in, just a piece of shit. Kind of. Yeah, but anyway, totally clean, don't even care about it.
Oh!
Right there.
Hi, I was wondering, do you know if Mass Canada is offering, going to be offering training for psychedelic
that question. So MAPS Canada doesn't have a training program specifically, and the only program, there's only a couple options for programs right now. There's one in the States through the California Institute of Integral Studies, but you have to travel down to California. There's nothing that's sort of a ongoing training in Canada at this time. It is a bit of a gap. But I would encourage you to come out to the Catalyst Conference at the end of May, because there's going to be quite a few people speaking to therapist competencies and training and that type of thing. And if anybody's interested in getting into this work, but my advice to you would be get all the generalist training, go for graduate level studies. Don't just think you can be a psychedelic psychotherapist or any other background behind your name. Get all your credentials, get all the things, and then come and be able to do the work. Because the things that are underlying behind people's issues, you need to have that other clinical background to be able to support people. But I'm a little biased, so.
I believe there's going to be a huge need for those therapists, and like you said, it's going to take people with the degrees in the current system that are recognized, psychology, psychiatry, these areas that are then transferred into and trained in what is psychedelic psychotherapy, and transferring that knowledge combined with the psychedelic work. Those are the ones that are going to be the recognized therapists, I believe, in the near future. So it's a huge potential. So if you're looking at where do I go with my studies, I'm in psychology or psychiatry or whatever it is, keep going, get that done. Don't change gears now, because there really isn't a lot of options right there for training. But Janice Phelps, the lady that started that one college in the US for psychedelic psychotherapy training, will be at the conference at Catalyst. So you should all be there, get your tickets. It's going to be an amazing event that's going to bring together people from all over the world doing this work and pushing the legalization, pushing the training, trying to find ways to bring this to the masses. The other thing I want to mention is that there's a discussion group in Calgary called Psychedelic Discussions on Meetup, and also we announced the stuff on Facebook in a group called Psychedelic Community. So if you're in either of those groups, and if you can't find it, send us a message through the conference site or whatever, that we can connect you to other people that are involved in this. There's actually a huge movement pushing things forward with really, really good people, and some in this audience are part of that. Any final comments before we? Psychedelic Discussions on Meetup, meetup.com, and Psychedelic Community on Facebook. Parting shots?
Just that we'll hang around for a little bit afterwards. If people have questions or need something, we'll try to get to as many of you as we can. And
somebody suffering through addiction, be compassionate, give love and support, and they're suffering, and everybody deserves a chance to be their best person.